Hello everyone and welcome to this very important video. And the video is all about, is DeepSeek, the new AI system from China, gonna destroy NVIDIA? And when we look at the stock today on Monday, it looks like it does. So let's start with that and see what that innovation is doing to one of the most iconic stocks in the market, which is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA today is down dramatically. It's at 118.33, so it dropped 17%, which for a roughly $3 trillion market cap company is nearly $500 billion in market cap drop because of that thing. So what is that thing? Well, DeepSeek is a Chinese new LLM. It's a new model. And there are all these great statistics here. This is one that I like to summarize what's going on. So here you see why DeepSeek is so important. And there are two reasons why it's so important. The first reason is it has tremendous performance. So when we look at the different category of benchmarks here, these are all different benchmarks that test all kinds of different things. So some test how good it is coding, right? How good as a programmer is it? You tell it what you want and it codes you Python code or whatever you want, or your C++, anything you want. And so you have these coding tests down here, for example, and you see how the different models, Claude 3.5, GPT-4o, DeepSeek version 3, OpenAI o1 mini, which is the advanced one, OpenAI o1 12.17, which is one of the most powerful OpenAI models. And then finally, DeepSeek R1, which is the thinking model of DeepSeek as opposed to just the regular model. So DeepSeek also has a test time compute model where it takes more time. It actually displays all the thinking it does and its inner thought process. And the results are pretty stunning. I tested it out myself. So here you see the problem. I'm not going to go into all these details. You can research it yourself. But the bottom line is DeepSeek R1 is kicking everyone's butt pretty severely. Even where OpenAI, the current leader or supposed leader in the market, is still ahead, they're only ahead of in a tiny little fraction here. So 91.8 versus 98, for example. And then you see DeepSeek is outperforming even in many cases. For example, the drop benchmark, they are even with OpenAI. And so it's pretty concerning. Down here in math 500 benchmark, for example, DeepSeek R1 beats OpenAI o1 12.17. Okay, for those of you who are not total AI geeks, maybe you're just shareholders in NVIDIA, maybe you're just interested in what's going on. Here's the bottom line. There is a Chinese model that was developed somehow in China that is beating the most advanced American model now in many respects, or at a minimum comes very close or on par with that model. Why is it so shocking? I tell you why. What is so shocking about it? The Chinese achieved that under two enormous constraints. Number one, DeepSeek R1 was developed with supposedly only $5 million in training costs, as opposed to OpenAI's training runs that cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, so it is a much more efficient way of training models that no one really understands at this point how they did that. There's a lot of talk on X that they're lying, that these 5 million are not true. But that sounds like cope to me, if you ask me. People are not just lying. Of course, they might be lying, but they're not lying with a factor of 20 or 40x, right? Maybe they spent 20 million, who knows, and say they have spent 5, maybe they spent 50 million. But it's very unlikely that they just spent the same amount as OpenAI, right? So it is very clear that there is some major efficiency improvement that makes it possible to train models that are on par or even better than the most advanced models in the United States with some new magic, Chinese magic. Number two, you also have to understand that in China, there is a lot of embargoes going on from the United States when it comes to chips. So there is not even a doubt that Chinese companies do not have access to the latest Blackwell chips and even H100s. Everything is like much harder to get in China, which I always thought is is not necessarily a smart thing of the United States to do, because if you put that much efficiency pressure on the Chinese by not allowing them to access the most advanced chips, it's a little bit dumb people thinking, if you ask me, because AI is a very complex technology. AI has multiple dimensions to it, how you achieve progress, right? You need data, and data is a complicated field. You can generate synthetic data, even it's not that simple. So creativity and high IQ are as important as just brute forcing data. Then the second dimension of 3 in AI is algorithms, right? You need the best algorithms, which is obvious, right? You need models, you need math that does something in these models. And of course, as everything, but especially in algorithms, it's a function of creativity and genius. You can easily increase the efficiency of AI models by 1 billion times. All you need to know is how. It's like the atomic bomb. I can give you a glass of matter and you can eviscerate an entire city. You just have to know what matter is in the glass and what you build around that matter, right? And Einstein and Oppenheimer and these people figured it out. Then you had a nuclear bomb. No one thought it's possible. In AI, all these things are even more true. It's just math. It's just algorithms. If you invent something new, it's a total game changer. You can change everything. And the invention of new ingenious mathematic models is not easy, but it's not a well understood process. It can happen. So the third thing is compute, raw power compute. There you can't trick too much. NVIDIA is the leader. TSMC is supplying the stuff, right? And we are building these amazing chips, and that's very hard to replicate. So the United States has a strategy to own compute and secure compute power, right? In the sense of embargoing China to not have access to the latest chips. But that's only one dimension of these 3. You know, you need data, you need compute, and you need algorithms. And the easiest thing to hack to make progress with brains is algorithms. And that is an area that is, I think, completely underrated in Silicon Valley because it's not how Silicon Valley operates. Silicon Valley wants dumb things. We deploy large amounts of capital and don't have to think. It's the American way. It's how America likes it. But that overlooks the possibility that very smart and ingenious people can just come out of left field and do something disruptive, something that the United States doesn't invest a lot of time into. You know, genius is not something, you know, well captured and understood right now. So all the billions and trillions of dollars go into the simple-minded thing. And the simple-minded thing are AI chips because they're easy to understand, they're easy to, oh, more money, more chips, great. There's another side to the equation, which is genius. Genius is totally underinvested in the United States. I'm not saying the other guys do it best. I'm just saying it's not really on the radar of the United States because it violates like the principle of huge amounts of capital being poured into something. So what does it all mean? It means there was a certain complacency going on with the AI companies, especially the startups and, you know, and the VCs, not always the sharpest tools in the shack, and they pour all the money in and think that's it. Now, what does it all mean? It means DeepSeek has now proven that there is a disruptive thing going on, that genius is actually possible. And all the cope we hear right now next, oh, they stole it, they're just Chinese, they copied OpenAI, now they're lying about the cost. It's all cope, even if that's all half true, even if it's all 70% true. It is for sure not 100% true. And if it's 70% true, and I think it's less true than 70%, then they still achieved a massive disruption in cost. They still achieved some serious magic leap in terms of algorithms. And when you actually test out DeepSeek, I tell you that thing is better than OpenAI in, for example, writing sophisticated texts. I tell you, I tested it. So what does that mean for the AI space? We are talking here about, will it destroy NVIDIA stock? Well, today, clearly it does. But here's my take. I think NVIDIA is a tremendous company. What I just said about the 3 dimensions of AI, you need algorithms, you need data, and you need compute. It means we are overestimating compute as a standalone. But I tell you one thing, we will always need the compute. Here's why I think DeepSeek is not going to destroy NVIDIA, and why NVIDIA will actually benefit, and why this drop in stock price will turn out to be a fluke, a mistake. And the people who turn out to be the smart ones will be the ones who buy this dip like crazy. I just loaded up a little bit on NVIDIA calls, long-term calls, end of the year, because I think it's BS. It's complete BS. You can buy NVIDIA calls at 125 strike price, expiration of December this year, for the same amount of premium that NVIDIA just dropped just today. That is nuts, because that drop is a big mistake. And here's why. When it comes to intelligence, the assumption that a more efficient model will decrease the demand in compute chips, in NVIDIA chips, is stupid. Because that would only be true if the total global demand for intelligence itself, for intelligence, is limited. That there is a fixed amount of intelligence we want to buy, and with DeepSeek, that intelligence becomes 10 times cheaper and needs 10 times less compute, which is very likely true, maybe even more, right? So that would mean that no one has to buy NVIDIA chips anymore, because we totally build over capacity now that we have that efficiency disruption. But that's not how the world works. The world works much more like people have a certain amount of capital they can spend on intelligence, and they will spend that money on intelligence if that intelligence is good enough. And if this intelligence becomes better, they will spend more money, not less. So that means an efficiency increase means you need less chips, less NVIDIA for the same amount of intelligence. But that means people will not just buy 10 times more intelligence, they will buy 100 times more intelligence, which means you don't need 10 times less chips, you need 10 times more chips when that happens. So I think it's a huge mistake. DeepSeek is not a competitor of NVIDIA. DeepSeek is an application that sits on top of NVIDIA. If these applications in intelligence become better, the demand goes up actually exponentially instead of going down or staying the same, which means a 10x improvement in efficiency leads to a 100x need for intelligence, improved need, which means it's a 10x improve in the demand for the underlying chips. So you can think about it more, but believe me, if you write a book, right, and right now AI is not doing a great job. Imagine you have DeepSeek, you do test time compute, and that thing suddenly knows exactly what you want to do and does it automatically. Are you going to write less books or more books? If you have a budget of $2,000 to spend on AI compute for your book, are you going to spend these 2,000? Are you going to say, well, now it can write the book I actually wanted for $200. I'm going to spend $200. Or are you going to say, it's going to write a 10 times better, more ingenious book for the same amount I wanted to spend? Are you going to still spend your $2,000? The answer is yes, because there is no limit to the demand of intelligence we want, both as a creative author and as a factory, right? You want as much as you can get, because intelligence has no limit in its value. There is no limit in its value. Very likely, the value of intelligence even goes up exponentially. If you can get your hands on twice the intelligence, you probably produce 4 times the value. So DeepSeek bringing down the cost of intelligence will increase the demand for chips. The only risk to NVIDIA are other chip companies that do exactly what NVIDIA does, better and cheaper. That's not the case. Here's a new application that just pulls up even more demand for NVIDIA. So I think this is incredibly bullish for NVIDIA stock. But on top of it, it's double bullish because NVIDIA stock has dropped like crazy today. So this is the time, in my opinion, to double down. I'm doing it through call options because stocks are too boring in this situation. You need to make sure it's long-term enough. Calls are always dangerous. Stocks are always safer because we don't know how long the market stays dumb. But this is one of these things where I think there's no doubt this is a good thing. Now, are they losers for what just happened? Are they victims of DeepSeek? Yes. I would say the number one loser of this game and in this race of what just happened is OpenAI and Sam Altman, because they are conceivably the leaders right now. I think similar companies affected by it are companies like Anthropic, right? Claude. And, I don't think Gemini and Google are losers because they're large enough to benefit from any kind of innovation. DeepSeek is also open source. So I think everyone who's competing directly against DeepSeek, who has a business model that relies on us needing their specific model that can now be replaced by DeepSeek, is potentially a big loser. Everyone who provides the shovels for the AI gold rush is a winner, specifically NVIDIA. Every company that captures more value than the LLMs do by integrated value chains in the new AI and robots world, like Tesla before everyone else, of course. Tesla is the #1 winner of the AI and robot revolution, will also benefit dramatically. Because if you have a complex, large value capture framework, and AI is only a little piece of it, and the rest is just, structures around the AI like a robot, then you can benefit from these innovations even more, because you just plug in DeepSeek, or you learn from DeepSeek, you copy some DeepSeek secrets and just boost your core AI performance in this value capturing framework like Optimus, like the robots. So basically an innovation like DeepSeek will create winners all around the table. Everyone wins through something like DeepSeek, with the exception of the people who are direct competitors who do exactly the same piece of the AI ecosystem as DeepSeek, which is Anthropic, which is OpenAI, but only if the companies solely rely on that model. I mean, Grok or XAI, we'll have to see, because Elon is one of these guys that I think likes these kinds of things because he can just learn from it and copy stuff and make it even better. So I think XAI, I also don't view as a sole LLM startup. It is an ecosystem player that can benefit from the better AI becomes, the more money it will make. This is a little diffuse, XAI, so that's a separate take. But all these bigger companies, even Google, they don't mind if someone beats Gemini. They can always use AI in more productive ways. Same with Amazon, same with Microsoft, same with Apple. So I think in total, it's a little bit of Sputnik moment for the United States, which is very healthy. It's a mini Sputnik moment. I think it's very good that Silicon Valley gets a little bit of reality check. They are always self-deluded, like a little self-delusional about how great they are. They're not that great. They just are very good in hyping stuff. And they're very good in accumulating tons of capital. They're not that good at deploying capital. They're actually very bad at it. But they make up with hype and the ability to pour more capital in. And in the end, you always win with that strategy and innovation. But they're not that good in actually generating hard innovation. So it's very good that we are all reminded, well, there are other people in the world that are actually smarter. And let's be open-minded. Let's build these business structures and value chains quick. I'm incredibly bullish on AI. I think this is transformative. The more players like DeepSeek come into the space, maybe some Europeans do something at some point, the Chinese will keep doing it, the Americans do it. I think it's very good for progress. It's very dangerous too. That's a different story. But NVIDIA is definitely not a victim here, but a winner in the end. And that's how I'm playing it. So I hope that was helpful. That's my first take on DeepSeek. We will see what happens this week, and we will keep our eyes on it. Another huge winner in this race will be Tesla, and I will do another video if DeepSeek is going to destroy Tesla. You guys already know what I might think here. But that will be another video solely focusing on the Tesla story and how models like DeepSeek will impact the Tesla ecosystem, from robotaxis, FSD to Optimus, of course. So I hope to see you then. And until then, take care.